You know there's a global health crisis that's almost completely invisible, but it's causing real pain to millions of the world's youngest children every single day. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this silent epidemic. It is called early childhood caries, and we'll be using a really important document, the IAPD Bangkok Declaration, to help us understand the problem and, more importantly, the solution. So let me just ask a quick question. When you think of the biggest, most common chronic health issue for kids, what pops up into your head? For all of us, it's probably something like asthma, right? Or maybe childhood obesity. Just take a second and think about what you'd guess. Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It's not asthma, and it's not obesity. Among the most common chronic disease in children all across the globe is tooth decay. And that simple kind of shocking fact is really at the heart of everything we need to talk about today. Now, this widespread problem has a specific name, early childhood caries, or ECC for short. So, first things first, let's really get a handle on what this problem is and why it's such a big deal. Okay, so what's really interesting here is the official definition. It's incredibly broad. A child under 6 is considered to have ECC if they have just one tooth surface that's either decayed, has a filling, or is missing because of decay. That's it. So, how alarming is the scale of this problem? We are talking about over 600 million children worldwide with ECC. But honestly, the most devastating part of this whole story isn't just the massive number. It's those last 3 words on the screen, and largely untreated. This isn't just a disease. It is a preventable, leaving millions of kids in pain. So how does the whole process even get started? Well, the source material calls it sugar-driven disease. And it's really simple but destructive chain reaction. First, frequent sugar feeds the sticky layer of bacteria called biofilm that are just naturally living on our teeth. Then, as those bacteria feast on the sugar, they produce acid. And if the biofilm is not disrupted regularly by brushing, that acid keeps attacking the tooth and finally dissolves the hard enamel. And boom, that's it. That's how a cavity is born. But the consequences of just one little cavity, they don't stop there. They ripple outwards. The experts who wrote the Bangkok Declaration call this an unacceptable burden. So let's break down what that really means for a child with ECC. We really have to get past this idea that these are just baby teeth. We're talking about little kids living with chronic pain. Kids who can't eat properly, can't sleep, can't even focus on school. And here's the really crucial connection. ECC is often the first big warning sign. High sugar diets shares the exact same root cause a major diseases like obesity and diabetes, that is too much sugar. It is a completely preventable problem that puts a huge strain on kids, their families, and our entire healthcare system. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty bleak, but here's the good news. This is a solvable problem. Health experts have actually laid out a super clear, structured plan to fight it. Let's take a look at the framework they've come up with. The key thing to understand is that prevention isn't just this one-shot deal. It happens in stages. Primary prevention, that's all about stopping decay before it even begins. You know through education, a good diet, fluoride, and sealants. Secondary prevention is when you see the very first signs of trouble. It is about stopping a weak spot from turning into a full-blown cavity. And then is tertiary prevention. This is when a cavity has already formed, and the goal is to stop two in its tracks and save the tooth. So that's the high-level strategy. But what's great is that the prevention of ECC also boils this all down into real practical actions that parents and caregivers can start doing right now. First, raise awareness of ECC. 2, this is a huge one. Reduce the amount and frequency of sugar that children consume. This especially means limiting sugary drinks. And for kids under 2, the advice is to avoid sugar completely, like syrups, honey, and even fruit juices. 3, the basics we all know, that is, brush twice a day with a fluoride toothpaste. The amount of toothpaste matters too. A smear for the children under 3, and a pea-sized amount once they're a little older. And 4, get ahead of the curve. Go see a health professional for advice before the child's first birthday. So, how do we actually put this framework into practice? This is where something called CARIES risk assessment becomes really important. Think of it like a triage tool. Not every child faces the same level of risk. Factors like diet, fluoride exposure, family history, and access to dental care all play a role. By identifying which children are at highest risk early on, the dentist can focus their most intensive preventive efforts where they're needed most. These individual actions are absolutely the foundation for reducing ECC and tackling an issue that's affecting 600 million children. We also have to zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. This one sentence from the IAPD Bangkok Declaration, it basically tells the entire story. It's a statement of incredible hope and at the same time, profound failure. Think about it. ECC is preventable. We know how to stop this, but it still affects hundreds of millions of kids. And for the most part, we're failing to treat them. That right there is the central conflict we have to resolve. The challenge isn't a scientific one. We don't need to invent some new cure. We have the knowledge and we have the tools to end this hidden epidemic right now. The real question the IAPD Declaration leaves us with is much simpler, and it is a question for all of us. Do parents and health professionals have the will to actually adopt necessary steps to prevent the disease that affects most of the world's children?